What's up, Rockstars? Welcome to another news video for board gaming. This is the first one in 2022, and it's actually been a little bit between all the end of year stuff and just moving and all that kind of stuff. I'm just now getting to talk about some very key things I wanted to discuss. Two things in particular, so let's go ahead and just dive right in. Now, as always, a huge shout out to my patrons and YouTube members. It is through their financial support that this channel is possible. If you would like to give and donate to this channel for a strong 2022, there's a link down below that. Or alternatively, you can do a one-time donation to my fundraiser that is ending in a week. There is a link down below that. There's a ton of thank you gifts there as well that you might be able to get. Go ahead and take a look down below. And also, of course, a huge shout out to Into the AM, my channel partner. They are awesome. I'm wearing one of their shirts, as you can see. You guys know how it is. Always am. I may not look good up here, but I look great on my shirt because they make some killer designs that people comment all the time about. I actually post on social media, I tend to anyway, when if I have time, if somebody actually makes a comment, because they have amazing shirts that people notice. So if you look here, 10% link down below in the description to everything. So an exclusive 10% to you, but they have some killer shirts. Also, I don't know, like, I'm a little nerdy, so when I see stuff like this that glows in the dark jellyfish, yeah, that sounds awesome. Their glow in the dark works really well, by the way. It actually does. There's actual lines that you can see in the print, but then it comes alive and like at night or when it's dark and stuff like that. Super cool. As well as Punching Aliens, that's super cool too. There's a ton of really cool stuff here, so feel free to check it all out. And if you're not into like all this like super cool stuff, they of course have the regular t-shirt club. You can just kind of get whatever. And this one, super cool design. I love this one. This is my favorite one I have seen for their monthly t-shirt. And they also have plain tees as well. They also look and feel great. All right, now let's go ahead and get into it. Now, starting things out, normally I cover a lot of Kickstarter or GameFound board games. However, there's not really anything of interest. Now, as you guys know, I don't cover everything. I kind of cultivate what I like, what I tend to be drawn to, and then let you guys know about it. And it's looking like February is going to be that, because there's Kingdoms Forlorn and several other big named games. So expect a huge amount. Last year it was January that really hit hard because there was a lot of delays. This year, there hasn't really been that many delays, and if there was, it didn't end up in January, it ended up in February. So February is going to be a killer month. You guys need to stay tuned. I'll be covering a lot of that kind of stuff. There's a ton coming up. Trust me on that. For now, let's talk about some decisions that some of my patrons have been talking about, some people on Board Game Geek have been talking about, just the interwebs talking about this. Now, you guys might know Outsider. No, wait, you don't. What you know is Gaijin. Gaijin? I don't even know if I'm saying that right. That's being changed to Outsider because some people got upset about the name Gaijin and how it's used in Japan and kind of what it means. Outsider is just kind of my understanding. Outsider is pretty much just the English word for it, but they're the same theme, the same idea, different semantics. Now I know what you're thinking. I know it. And you're like, oh my gosh, why would you listen to a few people that get upset about everything? Agreed, people need to like not get so upset about stuff. However, and I'm no expert on how it's used, by the way. All I know is like how my patrons have been talking about it and all that. It doesn't matter. That's kind of the whole point, right? The whole point is like, well, why would you change it? It barely matters. It's the name of a dinky card game or board game where you move around a map and have a network map with different scenarios and body modifications, earning reputation. Like, who cares? That's it. Who cares? If the name doesn't make the game and it's upset 8 people, well, I mean, well, it doesn't hurt to change it either. It's not like you've released it. There is a little bit, just because people like we've been talking about Gaijin for forever now. And so that's kind of almost the painful part of this is people are going to search for it. People are going to have, bookmarks or ask about it, and people might not know. Suddenly it's named something else. And so that's the hard part on Awakened Realms. However, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't. We see stuff change for IP reasons all the time. I don't really care if somebody changed the title one way or the other. If it was making some people kind of frustrated, and all you're really trying to say is that you're an outsider in a foreign land, well, then just call it outsider. Sure, why not? Maybe I could care more if this was something like gameplay, or if this was anything more than a word on a box. But it's just a word on a box, so I wouldn't be the one to complain about a word on a box. However, for the people that like to do things like that, hopefully they are not going to be complaining about outsider, because maybe changing it twice is too much, but it doesn't matter, guys. It really doesn't. Don't. It's interesting that it caused a fuss. I still think it looks very pretty. It's a very pretty game. We'll see how it plays. Like, this doesn't look interesting to me. This does, but I like the card game stuff, so I'm really interested to see how these card play works. I see cards with some really terrible art, and I see and that's what kills me. Like, look, this game looks so freaking sweet and so cool. The art style is like, oh, it's awesome. But then, like, you see like the cards, and it's like it just looks so bleh to me. It's just symbols, and I don't know. It looks that part looks boring. This looks cool. That looks boring. Anyway, we'll see. I'm still excited for it, regardless of whatever it ends up being named. The gameplay that's not changing, I'm excited for. Okay, next up we have Asmodee buying Miniature Market and Barely Caring. So here's the thing here. So if you didn't know, I go to Miniature Market all the time. It's where I would buy my single Vallejo bottles often, just because they had a better selection typically than where I could get locally in a local gaming store. I did look, and it was more convenient than going into the downtown in the big city and near the mall, and it's a big hassle if I want some Vallejo paints. So I would order them one off as I needed them, because I much support that over just buying in bulk, unless either A, you have a ton of money, or B, you're just trying to get a library of paints. But besides the point, so they bought Miniature Market back in 2021, and then only just now, like just literally a couple weeks ago, mentioned, oh, by the way, in this bullet point here, we bought Miniature Market. So here's my issue with that. Asmodee is also a footnote in some other companies thing, where a whole bunch of guys in business suits talk about how to make money and say all these like money terms that I don't understand, because I'm just a dude that buys stuff, and that I'm sure Yale taught him how to do something or whatever. It sucks that there's kind of this big player, and the worry I have. So if you didn't know, by the way, we go here. Okay, here's those guys in suits, right? Doing guys in suit things, doing presentations, PowerPoints, footnotes on Miniature Market. They don't care that I bought Vallejo paints there. They care about like market share, market gain, and global I don't know, whatever. But if I wore a suit, maybe I would get smarter. I don't know, but that's not the language I speak. But they speak it very well. Those guys in suits, they know how to do this. So anyway, Embracer Group actually is buying Asmodee for $2.75 billion. Now, the only other, like, Hasbro's really big, right? They're over $5 billion, I believe. But $2.75 billion, and that's not USD. That's that money over across the sea that you guys use. And my understanding is that's actually like more. So in USD that would be higher. Okay, so Embracer Group. Well, see, Embracer Group has 12,150 plus employees. and has a total equity of $27.165 billion with a total assets of $33.752 billion KR, whatever the heck that is. Now, I don't know what KR is. That's probably inflated. However, you look at what they own here. Not only that, a lot of stuff. Here is Asmodee, a footnote within a footnote. So this big company that makes billions is buying Asmodee as just another feather in the cap, and then Asmodee, who is worth billions, just as a feather in the cap, adds miniature market in there, and you get to the point where you're too far removed from what it is you're doing. So that's kind of an issue here. There are people that they're not good at making board games, they're good at making money. And they can do that in any market they go to. It's why a CEO and a CFO and a C whatever O can go and from one company in one industry to another company in another industry and actually still do okay. Because their business is money. Their business is not board games. Their business is not video games. Their business is not magazines or whatever. Their business is money. And how can they make it? How can they optimize it? How can they optimize the supply chain in the global, all that stuff? That's what they do. It's what they do. And so just as Asmodee barely cares that they bought Miniature Market, this company barely cares that they're buying Asmodee. And they don't care because they're so excited and tickled that they now own a board game company, and they are super big board gamers that love board games and understand what board gamers want. And they don't care about that. They care because their portfolio changes, and this is now more attractive for other buyers or for their shareholders or whatever other stuff besides board games that they could care less about besides how it can make them money. I saw this happen in the video game industry, right? Where it started out with these companies that would make video games, and the head guy would come in with some nerd t-shirt on as a gamer making video games because he loves video games. And then you go to where video games are now, where the guy that's in charge is wearing a suit and talking about all this other stuff besides really what makes video games great, more about how he's making money for this and millions on that and selling gambling loot boxes to children because he can make more money that way, and whatever else crap that they're doing there now. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. So I'm a little triggered by it just because I've seen it happen to another industry that I really enjoy, and I've seen it not do anything good. The moment you start putting stuff starts growing, right? It's great. Board games are growing. That's fantastic. That's awesome. Great. Board games are growing. But with that, it means that there's more dollar signs. And anytime there's dollar signs, the wolves come hunting, right? The guys who love to make those dollar signs say, okay, how could I do that? Oh, okay, well, I don't own any board game stuff or really know anything about board game stuff. However, this Asmodee thing is willing to be purchased for 2.75 billion euros. And so I think I'll do that because that would look great in my setup here and where I'm going with this company that has nothing to do with board games. So, yeah, a whole bunch of people who don't play board games now own the biggest board game company, and that's kind of a bummer. Kind of sucks, to be honest. That the biggest player doesn't really care that they could buy something like Miniature Market, which I don't know how big that is outside the U.S., but in the U.S., Miniature Market's actually really, really big, like huge. And not even really announce it until like shareholder season or whatever the heck they decided to do it at. Whatever event this junk is, though this is the Embracer Group buying them out, but it was a footnote in there. Just apparently December 16th, 2021 was the thing to do. That was the time to talk about it. They got their favorite suits out and they talked money for 2 hours. You're welcome to watch this if you want. I'll go and link down below to it. Right next to that, into the AM link. Right next to that fundraiser and Patreon link. Also that like button and the subscribe button. There's a whole bunch of buttons and links down there. You guys figure it out, I guess. Anyway, That's it. That's the first news bit of 2022. Boy, howdy, I hope that's not a sign of things to come. I get that I laid a little heavy in the whole, like, suits thing. And if you wear a suit, just know that I bet you look super classy, way classier than I am in it. And, that doesn't inherently make you a bad person. Some people just like wearing suits. If I had suits, maybe I would wear them too. I don't know. Look, anyway, I hope you understand what I'm saying. And I know I'm painting broad strokes here. The point is that it's the footnote issue. That's the non-focus, the non-big deal. That's the issue. It's we own all these different companies, everything from comic books to video games to now board games. And, like, I want the people running the board game industry to be board gamers, ideally, and not businessmen. Sadly, however, that never is the case. As things grow, as the board game industry grows, which is a great thing that we're growing, the businessmen start running things, not board gamers. And so we lose control and they gain control. And it's just the nature of the beast, I suppose. And while I complain about it, it is what it is. And that doesn't mean that board games aren't great. It doesn't mean that board games won't continue to be great. It just means that you will continue to see some iffy business decisions over time that will only grow worse as they do that. Now, hopefully we don't end up doing the whole, Loot Crate to children advertising stuff, slot machine stuff. But yeah, we'll see. I don't know what the board game equivalent of it is, but I'm sure these guys can find a way to make it a reality. So anyway, that's it, guys. Next time I will have some more actual gaming news, like showing off games. That'll be exciting. There are some pledge managers closing that I'm tracking. I'll be telling you guys about that very soon here as well. So stay tuned for that. Guys, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you guys again really soon. Bye, guys.